Let's go ahead and talk about the Lazy Peon's newest video on Guild Wars 2. Now, for those of you who don't know, Lazy Peon is a YouTuber who is fairly large, and he has been covering MMOs and his reviews on MMOs for years. He makes some pretty good stuff. But this newest video that he covered for Guild Wars 2 in 2023 was not his best piece of work. This was very disingenuous, and it did not at all give Guild Wars 2 a fair shot. If I could describe this video in a few words, it would be game journalist plays Guild Wars 2. And we all know how game journalists are whenever it comes to games. And then this is a big deal because he has a large influence and a large fan base, and a ton of new players are going to see this video and they're not going to really understand that a lot of his points are not that genuine, and this review in total is not a great representation of Guild Wars 2. Let's just go ahead and hop right into it. He starts off with showing us his character screen, and on the screen right now we can just tell what kind of player that we are working with. Just someone who doesn't really play the game that much, doesn't really have a lot of experience. Like right now he only has 96 mastery rank, which means that he is missing a lot of mastery points, and he just doesn't have all the features in the game unlocked yet. So he logs into the game where he has his first complaint.
Open up my inventory and I'm instantly overwhelmed.
Now, while Backspace is a problem in Guild Wars 2, there are a lot of workarounds to it, such as getting more bag space, so you can actually upgrade your bags in Guild Wars 2 to a large amount where you won't have this issue, and you can also get more bag slots as well, which sounds like pay to win, but you can convert gold to gems and get them entirely for free if you want to. After this, he goes on to try and learn his class again. He is playing as the Catalyst, which is one of the harder classes in the game, so him coming back to the game after a long time and not really being that much of an experienced player playing the Catalyst, yeah, it's no wonder why he's having a rough time. This is one of the harder classes, and also he's using a guide off of Meta Battle, which is it's a good site for a starting point, but I wouldn't take the guide and the build exactly how it is. I would change a few things based on your encounter, change a few gear stats. He's going exactly for what it is, power DPS Catalyst. Yeah, there's no wonder he's having a rough time right now. After playing with his Catalyst a bit, he then goes on to do the Secrets of the Obscure story chapter. Now he has to make his way over to Queensdale to actually start this, and he realizes that...
But map completion isn't shared whatsoever across any of your alts, and I really wish it was. All of my map completion is on my warrior, but I've re-rolled away from my warrior. So if I was to want to have that map completion, again I'd have to do it on my mage, which I don't want to do.
On his Elementalist, he doesn't have Queensdale waypoints unlocked, so he starts to get a little upset, saying that Guild Wars 2 should have map-wide completion for your account. And I will say that this is an opinion, so he is valid and wrong at the same time. And while this is still his opinion, there are solutions to it. Like in the gem store, you can buy waypoint unlocks on your alt characters if you want, so you can have every waypoint in the core game. And yes, while this does cost gems, once again you can convert this from in-game gold, in-game currency to gems and get this. So if you're a seasoned player or you've been playing for a while, you can very easily just convert all your gold into gems and unlock waypoints on your other characters if that's a complaint you actually have.
It's not even a new character, it's an old character that I just haven't done any map completion on. Other Guild Wars 2 players don't seem to complain about this at all though, so it's probably just a me problem. Everyone else is probably happy to do map completion on each character. They've got more patience than me.
So skipping over a bit, he does the first instance, he does the boss, he says that it's a bit scuffed, which I will agree, that little stealth mission part is a bit scuffed, and then he goes on to show us his mastery rank, his mastery points. You can see he doesn't really have that much going on here. He still has a lot of masteries that he doesn't have unlocked, and also he says that Secrets of the Obscure doesn't have as many masteries as the other expansions.
So it seems like there's less masteries this expansion compared to End of Dragons and the other ones.
Could be true for a few of them, but he only has one list actually unlocked. He has to unlock the rest of the masteries by playing the game and beating the rest of the chapters.
Looking quite old. I really do believe it is time for Guild Wars 3. I think Guild Wars 3 would be pretty huge.
He then talks about Guild Wars 3 and how he thinks that should be the next big thing for ArenaNet. No. In my opinion, he's just one of those people right now that is just playing the game saying, oh, Guild Wars 3 would be pretty cool, and not really thinking about what it would mean and what would they have to do to actually make that happen. They just announced the yearly expansions are going to be a thing, so Guild Wars 3 is not going to be out anytime soon at all. And yeah, it's just kind of a weird take. He says this quite a bit in the video, talking about Guild Wars 3, you know, like I'm waiting for Guild Wars 3. It just feels very like weird. Like, why is this in his review?
Alright, we'll play some more of the story. It's got like 10 NPCs all talking over each other. What a headache.
The wizards created various reflections.
Mate, NPCs, shut the fuck up, please. Tell me what to kill. Now we're gonna have to fight Dagda. And I'm already like almost dead from like, I have no idea what. I've just got like no survivability and I don't understand why.
He then hops back into the story and does the Dagda boss fight. Now this is where I think it's kind of funny, because he complains about how he's dying a lot, how he doesn't have any survivability. He's playing Hammer Power Catalyst, alright? Full Berserker's gear. You know, he has no Jade Pot core, so his health pool's pretty low. Like, there's a reason why he's dying, alright? And he just isn't really playing it correctly. And then he zooms on to his gear. Now this is the part where I was like, what am I watching? So he goes to his gear and he shows us, you know, he has full Berserker's gear, he has runes, he goes to his trinkets, and he has Berserker's rings, alright? But you can notice this little funny color right here. This color's not orange, alright, fellas? This color is yellow. And yellow, that means rare. He's wearing rare gear at level 80. It's just like, oh my god. Why are you doing a review on the game if you don't even understand like how this basic concept works with like, you know, gear rarity and that kind of thing? It's just kind of weird to me. After this, he hops into PvP and plays a match. I'm not really going to talk about this because, you know, it's his first game back, and yeah, there is some stuff we can talk about with him being not that good, but we're just going to ignore that for now. It's PvP. He does mention, however, that PvP is his favorite game mode in Guild Wars 2. It's why he likes the whole game, and he just doesn't like the story-driven stuff in the game, which is fair, but just keep that in mind when we get towards the end of this video.
Gonna die here. Let's escape. Jump.
Now he hops into World v World and finds out about relics. Now he has 3 relic chests available because everyone gets this at the start of the expansion. But instead of just using his free relic chest, he actually goes on the trading post and spends 11 gold on a relic of speed. And after some World v World, he goes ahead and logs off his character, and that's literally all the footage that we have for him actually playing. So let's recap. He does an hour of the main story mission. He does 1 rift or 2, I'm not sure how many he did, in the open world. He does some old PvP, some old World v World, and that's it. That's his whole review for Guild Wars 2 in 2023. Now, that sounds a bit weird to me, and I'm sure it sounds weird to you as well. But let's go ahead and see what his pros and cons are.
So after revisiting Guild Wars 2 for a bit, my pros and cons haven't really changed too much from the last time I played, other than the addition of a few cons, as I've realised why I never really stick around with Guild Wars 2 for very long. Pros: decent combat, good storytelling, decent non-pay-to-win business model, very unique mount system, lots of evergreen content, solid mix of both PvP and PvE, alt-friendly game, epic meta event bosses, friendly community, great soundtrack, lots of horizontal progression, lots of completionist content, and a top-tier transmog and fashion endgame.
With all those pros out of the way, let me just go ahead and address a few of these. So, decent combat. I think the combat in this game is great, so obviously that's just an opinion. He then goes on to say that one pro of the game is good storytelling. Now this is where I have a problem, because throughout the whole video, he literally complains about the story, saying, oh, this is boring, oh, the NPCs are annoying, oh, you know, that's a totally fair opinion. Like, you can say the story sucks, like, I know, like, I agree. I think parts of the story are boring. I don't like listening to dialogue, I just want to kill stuff, right? Like, I understand that. But how are you going to list that as a pro of good storytelling when you didn't even like the story the entire time? You're complaining about it the whole time you're playing. He then goes on to say that it has a decent business model. Now, I'll say that Guild Wars 2 actually has a great business model because of the gold to gems conversion. You can use in-game currency to buy like real money stuff in this game. We go a bit down the list. He says that the game has a lot of horizontal progression. What this means is that he likes the horizontal progression of the game. You know, he enjoys having that progression where you can just, you know, hop in whenever you want and you still have the best gear in the game, even if it's like 1 year from now, right? Like, gear stats, they never get higher. He likes that. Now, it's important because when we move on to his cons, things get a little weird.
Cons. Visually, I think Guild Wars 2 looks quite outdated nowadays. It's a difficult game to get into for new players due to being so different to other MMOs. The game isn't fully open world, which hurts immersion due to many loading screens. PvP seems to be an aspect of the game that's been ignored by the devs for a long time. Map completion isn't account wide. If it was, I'd probably play the game more because I can't fully decide on a main, so I just don't bother with it anymore. The horizontal progression, whilst can be considered a pro and a reason why so many people play Guild Wars 2, does result in the game not being very addictive, and me personally quitting to play other MMOs with more satisfying vertical progression linked to character power.
So taking a look at his cons list, there are a few that are true, like PvP has been neglected. There hasn't been really any new maps at all, any new arenas, game modes, anything like that in years, but Weapon Master has done a lot for PvP. It changed it up a lot. PvP is entirely different now with Weapon Master, so there is that. The game being too horizontal. Now this is where it's weird, because wasn't that one of his pros? He said the game being horizontal is great, but then the fact that it's too horizontal is bad. I don't know, kind of a weird take. He does say that while it's a pro, it's still a con, so he is aware of this contradiction. But I just feel like his argument for it falls a bit flat. Now we go ahead and move on to the hot take section of the video. Now this is where a lot of people are going to get mad. I myself was getting a little upset when hearing about this. I feel like this is just a lukewarm take and it comes off as very not genuine. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this.
Now for the biggest issue I have with Guild Wars 2. With horizontal progression being a major focus of the game, there's a lot of different stat combinations, and often you'll run a different set of gear not only for each type of content, but for each build. If you're a PvX player, your bags and bank are just going to be littered with gear, and this is the biggest thing that makes me want to quit Guild Wars 2 every time I play the game. I log in, I look at my inventory, see it clogged up with mostly useless shit, and I'm instantly pissed off.
So his first point is that there's too many gear and stats in the game to where if you want to play PvE and World v World, you have to have a bunch of gear in your inventory. It takes up so much space. But the thing is that he doesn't realize that there's literally equipment slots where he can put in his gear and it just binds to his account. So there's there's a little 1, 2, 3, 4 at the top of your screen. You can actually expand that with more slots for in-game gold or gems. Or you can just actually use it, because I don't think he was using that at all in the video, and that would just clear up his bag problem.
What content do I want to do? World vs World? Okay, let's go over to Meta Battle and find a build. Oh wait, I don't have a gear set with those stats. Go to the trading post, buy a full set of gear plus runes plus sigils, the correct weapon, accessories, and now a relic. And I'm finally able to participate in my chosen content after dropping 50 to 100 gold. It's a massive barrier to entry for new players, and for existing players just to experiment with new types of content.
The second point is how hard it is to try out new builds. He says that you have to spend 50 to 100 gold to get a new build, get all the gear for it, and get it all set up. But this is just simply a bad take and just untrue. Yes, it'll cost that much if you're buying every single piece of gear off the trading post, but this is an MMO, not a shopping mall. Why are you buying your gear off the trading post when there's other alternatives? You can just get the gear from PvE, from World v World, and PvP. You can literally get the gear for different builds by just playing the game mode that you want. You don't have to spend all this gold on it. And not to mention, the fact is that he has ascended accessories, ascended trinkets. So he could literally stat change those for a couple gold, and his stats will change and he will just be able to play whatever build he wants. So the answer is right there in front of him, he just doesn't realize it, which is the part that's just frustrating to me and a lot of others.
Here's my suggestion. Literally remove gear from the game and allow players to just choose their stats and loadout from a menu similar to what's already available in SPVP. Gear in Guild Wars 2 has felt meaningless for years and is nothing more than a barrier to entry, as gear score and power doesn't increase with each expansion like a typical MMO. So when you get a piece of exotic or ascended gear in Guild Wars 2, you literally feel nothing. There's zero dopamine, you don't feel like you're getting stronger, it's just a set of alternate stats that might be useful for one of your builds at some point. You'll probably just throw it in the bank and forget about it. If Guild Wars 2 removed gear from the game and you could just build your character however you wanted with no barriers, not only would it be the most alt-friendly MMORPG in the entire genre, but I think it would greatly improve the new player experience and help attract more players to the game.
He says that gear and their stats should not be a thing in this game. Every piece of gear should just be stat selectable, pick whatever runes you want, whatever sigils you want, just like SPVP. Now this is obviously a PvP brain take. No one wants this. No existing players want this. New players I don't even think would like this, because then what's the point of playing the actual game? What's the point? There is no progression at all. Why would you do this? This problem he discusses is literally solved with the legendary armory and legendary crafting. Now, legendary armor is crafted armor that you can work towards. It does have a bit of a grind to it, but you can earn it in almost any game mode by playing the game mode that you want. Once you have this armor, you can actually select the stats and change the stats whenever you want to any stat you want. Anytime, anywhere. It is literally the ultimate convenience. And the best part is that it doesn't even go in your inventory, it goes on your account. So any character that uses like heavy armor, medium, depending on which armor you have, can use that. And that's about it for his whole video. I mean, at the end there is an overall that says that Secrets of the Obscure doesn't really add anything new to the game, which is just a really odd take, seeing as how he only played like 1 hour of Secrets of the Obscure, then he went back to do old PvP, old Worldly World. So it's like, I don't get what he's talking about, and he didn't even use Weapon Master at all while he was playing, so that's just weird to me. And to say that it didn't really add anything new is bizarre, because like I said, we got Weapon Master added, which changed a ton of things in this game, and we also have a lot of new masteries which he doesn't know about, because while there are new features in the game, he just hasn't tried those features out yet, because he doesn't have the mastery points or the level or anything related to that. And at the very end, I think it's kind of funny, he goes on to bring up the Guild Wars 3 again. It's the Guild Wars 3 waiting room. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I don't know why he's saying this. Obviously, if he was like involved with what's happening in Guild Wars 2, if he was aware of what's going on in Guild Wars 2, he wouldn't be saying this, because they just announced their yearly expansion cycle. Guild Wars 3 is a whiles away, if we even get that. And that's about it, guys. I've watched Peon for a long time. I watched his WoW content. Like I was saying, I thought his content was great, but this video right here, I just couldn't let it slide. This was not his best work. This video right here is very disingenuous, and it just is a bad look for the game, especially when it comes to new players who look to Peon for these kind of guys. So Peon, if you ever see this or you see anyone else's videos about this, I really hope that the things I said in this video could help you address, the problems you have. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video just talk about, a few of the points that he brought up, which were totally incorrect. I know a lot of people in the community are talking about this video and about how it's not really that good of a video and how they're really upset about it. And while he does share them with a larger community, which isn't a good thing, he's still a person, so just keep that in mind whenever you're messaging him. Let me know what you think of this kind of reaction and discussion type video, and if you want to see more in the future. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.